Hi there, I'm talking with you today about how child life specialists actually save time in the hospital. I think it can be a big misconception that families don't want to have to meet a whole other person within the healthcare facility since they're already meeting so many people. But I want to talk to you about how child life specialists ends up saving time, not only for the family, but for the facility as well. This actually applies to not just child life specialists working in the hospital, but child life specialists working in dentist's office or hospice or advocacy centers or schools or all the other places that child life specialists have the skills to help support patients and families. So I know from experience when I'm in the hospital with my child or myself or I'm going through a medical experience, it seems like you're meeting just so many people and it feels overwhelming and you're like, do I really need to meet you? Can't just another person do all of these jobs? Unfortunately, the answer is no. Everyone is an expert in what they do. But what child life specialists know is they know the nuances within the facility, within the healthcare experience. So they kind of know how the background works. And if you walk down this hallway, we could save 5 minutes of time from getting from point A to point B. We know what makes the process run smoother. We know the sequence of events that the families are going to have to go through. We know they're going to need to meet registration. We know that if we put the bracelet on before this person comes in, it can help save time. So just all these little pieces of insight that child life specialists know that maybe not other healthcare workers are thinking about that actually save time in the long run. The other thing is that child life specialists can help empower parents for the right words to say. I know if my child is going through something that is painful or uncomfortable, then I have worry myself about how am I going to support them in the best way. And child life can come in and actually support and guide the parent by giving them the language to use, giving them things and suggestions and tips and strategies that help reduce anxiety in the long run, not just for the patient, but also for the parent. So actually, we're going to move on to how reducing anxiety in the patient actually leads to saving time as well. So prior to heading back to a surgery, if the child is well equipped because they've been seen by child life, the parent is well equipped, it's going to be a smoother transition back into the operating room. I'm using surgery just as the specific example here, but I think it really applies to a lot of different medical experiences. If the family is empowered, the child is empowered, things go smoother. If the child is feeling anxious, they are going to delay. And not even just feeling anxious, it's kind of just in kids' nature to delay something if they don't want to do it. My example is that with my daughter, she always picks the longest book. And when we read a colors book, we actually have to play I Spy. So she's the queen of delaying. And so that's just kind of what kiddos do. They want to delay until they can put it off and maybe not have to do it. So child life specialists know that about child development, and that's why being there to support and empower and educate the patient helps reduce delays for families and for the facility too. The other big things is that once child life specialists get to know the family, they can actually coordinate with the healthcare team. So an example I'll give you is if I know that a patient gets really upset when the blanket is on them, I'll make sure that the staff knows do not put the blanket on them because that is going to cause a lot of anxiety and make the child upset. I was doing a call for a family prior to a surgery, and I asked the mom, does your child have any sensory needs or anything that staff should know about your child so we can, give them the best care possible? And she said, do not touch his hair and do not call him buddy. Those were his two big triggers that if those things were to happen, it would cause and wreak havoc for this family and for this child. And so because I had had that conversation ahead of time, when the patient walked in, we had a sheet of paper and I just wrote, do not call him buddy. Do not touch his hair. These are the patient's wishes. Put it on the door so every healthcare worker that went in knew exactly those things. And here's why that's important. This kid had the coolest afro, and so many people wanted to comment on it and touch it just kind of as what they thought was a rapport building opportunity, but it would have caused so many delays, so much anxiety. So that's how a child life specialist can actually save time, not only for the family, but for the facility too. Written a whole blog about other ways to look at how child life specialists save time in the hospital. If you want to go, you can check that out at childlifepodcast.com and you can see it in our blog. And I would love to hear about some of the ways that you've seen child life help save time in the hospital.